We've all been there. Everything feels like it's falling apart, and suddenly, even the simplest decisions seem impossible. Your usually clear thinking mind turns into a jumble of competing priorities and mounting panic. However, here's the thing, this isn't a flaw and it isn't a weakness. It's your brain doing exactly what it was designed to do, just not in a way that helps when you're facing modern challenges like work deadlines, money worries, or supporting your child's learning and many after school activities. When stress takes the wheel and it kicks in, any rational decision making seems to vanish. You'll feel flustered, unable to see the logical next step. And it doesn't matter whether the problem is genuinely complex or has a simple solution. When stress is in charge, clarity takes a back seat. However, the moment calm returns, everything changes. Suddenly, you can work through the steps methodically and find solutions with ease. This dramatic shift isn't about ability or intelligence, it's your brain's built in emergency system doing its job, just not in the way that you'd like it to do. The brain has an emergency protocol. When stress strikes, your brain switches into survival mode. The parts responsible for reasoning and problem solving are overridden by the stress response system, which has one simple mission: make this problem disappear now. This ancient mechanism kept our ancestors alive when facing immediate threats, but it doesn't translate well into modern challenges. A reactive brain might help you dodge danger, but it's less useful when dealing with school meetings or bills or workplace pressures. In this state, your brain isn't looking for the best solution, it's only looking for the fastest solution. That's why stress decision making can feel scattered and why afterwards we wondered how on earth we missed such obvious answers. Let's talk about the power of the mental cue. Here's where a simple software concept can shift how you think about stress. The cue system. Imagine a website under heavy traffic with users clicking frantically when a page won't load. Without proper management, the system crashes. With a queue, however, requests get organised and processed when resources become available. Your brain needs the same approach. When demands pile up, whether it's 10,000 responsibilities or just a busy school morning, trying to tackle them all at once will only crash the system. The key is learning to delay reactions and cue problems until your brain has the capacity to process them properly. Stepping back, taking a pause, or consciously postponing a response gives your logical brain time to catch up. However, timing is everything. Stressful periods usually come in bursts. If you can resist reacting in the middle of a stress burst, you'll be in a much better position to handle the problem appropriately once it passes. Sometimes this looks like saying, I hear you and your concern is in my queue, and then following up later when you can give it proper attention. The follow through matters just as much as the pause, though. Without it, trust breaks down and the stress only increases. This approach is especially important with children. They simply don't yet have the capacity to manage rapid fire requests or multiple instructions at once. When too much comes at them too quickly, they easily slip into panic mode, becoming defensive or just shutting down. Supporting children to focus on one task at a time helps them build confidence and keep that calm. For people who have experienced trauma, the brain's natural cueing system often doesn't develop in the same way. Stress responses can be more intense, with the brain throwing error messages much sooner. What might look like an overreaction often makes perfect sense when viewed through this lens. Understanding this can help us meet both ourselves and others with greater compassion when stress responses seem overwhelming or out of proportion. At Dyslexia Unpuzzled, one of the very first tools we use is designed to calm both the mind and the body, putting them in the right place for learning. It's an incredibly powerful process. The moment of realization that it's safe to relax and be calm can be life-changing. One client, after completing this exercise, told me he'd felt the world lift off his shoulders. Once clients are in that calm space, they can learn so much more effectively because they're working with their brains and bodies in unison, not against them. A simple technique, or one of the simple techniques I often teach in my sessions, is box breathing. It's a powerful way for both parents and children to step into calm before starting something like homework time. Just a few minutes of breathing with focus can help the brain shift out of that stress mode and into a state where learning feels safer and easier. It's equally important too for parents to practice to calm themselves before working with their children. When you feel steady, your child is more likely to follow your lead. If you'd like to try this, I've created a short video that demonstrates this box breathing. You can watch it a little bit later on in the week if you keep up with my socials. Here's some practical strategies for better mental cueing. Single task focus. Prioritize completing one task at a time for yourself and for children. Avoid multiple instructions or overload. Build in a pause time between noticing a problem and responding to it. Even a few minutes can change the outcome. If you tell someone that their concern is in the queue, make sure you have a reliable way of addressing it later. Broken promises add to that stress. Learn to recognize when you're in a stress burst and remind yourself it will pass. Find strategies that work with your brain's natural rhythms instead of pushing against them. When you learn to work with your brain's natural patterns instead of against them, everything then changes. The problems don't necessarily shrink, but your capacity to handle them grows. The next time you feel that familiar flood of overwhelm, remember the cue. Step back, breathe, organize your thoughts. Trust that when the stress burst passes, your problem-solving brain will be ready to take its turn. And if you're supporting a child with learning challenges, this is especially important. They need calm, steady guidance while they develop their own cueing systems, one task, one step at a time. With the right strategies, both you and your child can move from panic mode to problem-solving mode. One step at a time is really enough. Acknowledgement. This article or this presentation was developed with the input from my son, Palamountain, whose insights about his own stress and problem solving and mental cueing helped shape many of the ideas which I've shared with you here today. About Dyslexia Unpuzzled. At Dyslexia Unpuzzled, we specialise in helping children and families navigate learning challenges with clarity and confidence. We use evidence-based tools and personalised strategies. We focus on building calm, confidence, and practical skills that support both learning and well-being. Our approach combines professional expertise with compassion, ensuring every child or every person is seen for their strengths as well as the things that they struggle with. To learn more or book an initial consultation with me, please visit my website dyslexiaunpuzzled.co.nz.